In the harsh, unforgiving landscape of ancient Israel, where dust-laden winds whispered tales of struggle and survival, a man emerged whose life would become a profound testament to human vulnerability and divine restoration. Samson, a name that echoed with legendary strength, yet concealed a heart wrestling with profound inner turmoil. From his earliest moments, Samson was marked as different. Consecrated before birth, set apart as a Nazirite, he carried the weight of extraordinary expectations. His muscular frame and superhuman strength were not merely physical attributes, but symbolic promises of potential deliverance for a people long oppressed. Yet beneath the impressive exterior lay a complex soul torn between divine calling and human frailty. The wilderness surrounding his hometown of Zorah seemed to mirror his internal landscape, rugged, unpredictable, simultaneously beautiful and treacherous. Every muscle, every sinew told a story of purpose, but also of profound isolation. Samson understood early that being chosen was not a privilege, but a relentless responsibility that consumed every waking moment. His remarkable strength was both a blessing and a curse. People saw the physical prowess, the ability to tear lions apart with bare hands, to defeat armies single-handedly. But few recognized the internal battle raging within, the constant pressure to perform, to validate his existence through perpetual victory. Each triumph brought momentary validation, yet left an increasingly profound emptiness. Anxiety became Samson's constant companion. The fear of inadequacy, of potentially failing his divine mandate, drove him to make increasingly reckless decisions. Relationships became transactional, emotional connections superficial. He sought validation through conquest, believing that strength could compensate for his deep-seated insecurities. The Philistines represented more than political enemies. They embodied the external pressures that constantly challenged Samson's sense of self. Each confrontation was not just a physical battle, but a psychological warfare that threatened to unravel his very identity. His strength became a shield, protecting him from acknowledging the profound wounds festering beneath the surface. Yet within this narrative of apparent invincibility lived a profoundly human story of vulnerability. Samson's journey would reveal that true strength transcends physical capacity, emerging from spiritual surrender, emotional honesty, and the courage to confront one's deepest fears. His story was not simply about supernatural power, but about the universal human experience of feeling simultaneously extraordinary and devastatingly fragile. It spoke to every individual who has ever felt trapped between expectation and authenticity, between public perception and private pain. As the winds of destiny continued to blow across those ancient hills, Samson stood at a crossroads, unaware that his most significant battles would not be fought with hands, but within the hidden chambers of his heart. His narrative was about to unfold, promising a transformation that would challenge everything he understood about strength, purpose, and redemption. The intricate dance between personal limitation and divine potential unfolded with increasing complexity as Samson's life trajectory revealed deeper psychological landscapes. His extraordinary gifts became a double-edged sword, each demonstration of power simultaneously magnifying his potential and exposing his profound vulnerabilities. Psychological strain emerged not from physical challenges, but from the internal pressure of perpetual expectation. Imagine carrying a generational mandate, where every action becomes a potential pivot point for an entire people's destiny. Such weight transforms personal struggle into a collective narrative, where individual wounds intersect with communal hope. Societal dynamics compounded his internal tension. As a designated deliverer, Samson experienced a unique form of isolation, celebrated publicly, yet fundamentally misunderstood privately. People saw a champion. He experienced an intricate emotional labyrinth marked by recurring doubt and unresolved spiritual negotiations. Interpersonal relationships became battlegrounds where his internal conflicts manifested most dramatically. Each romantic encounter, each confrontation with Philistine authorities, represented more than mere physical interactions. They were complex psychological negotiations between personal desire and divine assignment. His choices reflected not weakness, but the profound complexity of navigating supernatural expectations within deeply human limitations. Remarkably, Samson's journey illuminated a universal human experience, the challenge of maintaining authenticity while carrying extraordinary responsibilities. His struggles transcended individual narrative, becoming a metaphorical exploration of human potential when confronted with seemingly insurmountable external and internal pressures. Spiritual formation occurred not through triumphant moments, but through progressive deconstruction of ego, a painful process where personal mythology gradually gives way to genuine vulnerability. Each perceived failure became an opportunity for deeper transformation, challenging the simplistic narrative of heroic predetermined success. Critically, his experience demonstrated that divine purpose rarely follows linear progression. Complexity, apparent contradiction, and moments of profound human frailty were not obstacles to fulfilling destiny, but integral components of a more nuanced spiritual journey. The sacred often emerges through our most vulnerable intersections, where human limitation meets transcendent possibility. As twilight descended over the Judean hills, Samson's internal landscape grew increasingly turbulent. His extraordinary physical prowess concealed a profound psychological battleground where personal identity and divine calling perpetually collided. Trauma and destiny intertwined like intricate battle lines, creating a complex emotional terrain that defied simple interpretation. Psychological resilience emerged not from muscular strength, but from the intricate neural pathways that processed profound spiritual tension. Each moment of potential vulnerability became a crucible where raw human experience met supernatural expectation. The weight of generational promise pressed against his consciousness, transforming personal struggle into a deeply nuanced existential journey. Profound isolation characterized his experience. While surrounded by tribal communities, Samson inhabited a unique psychological space, simultaneously celebrated and fundamentally misunderstood. His inner world pulsed with unresolved tensions, the demand for perpetual heroism versus the deeply human need for genuine connection, acceptance, and emotional authenticity. Neurological research suggests that individuals carrying extraordinary expectations often develop complex adaptive mechanisms. For Samson, this manifested as hypervigilance, a constant state of psychological readiness that simultaneously protected and fragmented his sense of self. Every interaction became a potential threat, every relationship a potential battlefield where personal boundaries could be breached. Interpersonal dynamics revealed deeper psychological complexities. His romantic entanglements, particularly with Delilah, represented more than mere personal choices. They became intricate negotiations between vulnerability and self-preservation, where emotional intimacy was both desperately desired and fundamentally feared. Each relationship became a microcosm of his larger spiritual struggle. Remarkably, his journey illuminated how extraordinary gifts can become psychological burdens. The very strength that defined him also isolated him, creating an almost unbearable tension between public perception and private reality. Cultural expectations transformed his personal narrative into a performative experience where authenticity became increasingly challenging to maintain. Neurobiological perspectives suggest that sustained high-stress environments fundamentally alter psychological processing. For Samson, continuous external threats and internal pressures created a perpetual state of adaptive hyperarousal. This neurological conditioning meant that relaxation, trust, and genuine emotional vulnerability became increasingly difficult to experience. Ultimately, his narrative transcended individual experience, becoming a profound metaphor for human potential when confronting seemingly insurmountable internal and external challenges. The intersection of supernatural calling and deeply human limitation created a rich, complex psychological landscape that challenged simplistic notions of heroism and destiny. The scorching Philistine sun cast long shadows across the battlefield, each silhouette a testament to unspoken psychological warfare. Beyond physical confrontations, Samson's internal landscape revealed a more nuanced struggle, the silent battle of expectation versus authentic identity. His muscular frame, celebrated by his people, concealed profound emotional fractures that no external victory could truly heal. Psychological resilience emerged not from muscular prowess, but from intricate emotional negotiations. Every triumph carried an underlying tremor of potential failure, a whispered anxiety that threatened to unravel his carefully constructed persona. The weight of generational expectations pressed against his consciousness like an invisible yet immovable stone, transforming personal struggle into a complex dance between divine mandate and human limitation. Consider how cultural narratives often trap individuals within predetermined trajectories. For Samson, being a designated deliverer meant perpetually performing strength, suppressing vulnerability, and maintaining an impossible standard of heroism. Such relentless performative existence creates profound psychological tension, where personal authenticity becomes secondary to collective expectations. Neurological research suggests that sustained high-pressure environments fundamentally reshape psychological processing. Samson's continuous state of hypervigilance meant emotional flexibility became increasingly challenging. Each interaction transformed into a potential threat, every relationship a delicate negotiation between self-preservation and genuine connection. Critically, his experience illuminated how extraordinary gifts can simultaneously empower and isolate. The very strength that defined him created an emotional chasm, rendering genuine intimacy almost impossible. Cultural perceptions transformed his narrative into a performative experience where authenticity became a rare, precious commodity. Interpersonal dynamics revealed deeper psychological complexities beyond physical confrontations. Romantic entanglements, particularly those fraught with manipulation, represented intricate psychological negotiations. These relationships became metaphorical battlegrounds where personal boundaries, emotional vulnerability, and survival instincts collided with devastating complexity. Remarkably, Samson's journey demonstrated that true resilience emerges not from perpetual victory, but from the courage to acknowledge internal fragmentation. Healing begins when one recognizes that strength isn't about maintaining an impenetrable exterior, but about developing the capacity to be genuinely vulnerable, to embrace complexity, and to transform internal wounds into sources of profound wisdom. Now, imagine standing at the intersection of extraordinary potential and human frailty, where every step feels like walking a razor's edge between destiny and disappointment. This was Samson's daily reality, a life where supernatural calling and deeply human limitations created a psychological landscape, both beautiful and terrifyingly intricate. The crucible of leadership demands more than physical courage. It requires emotional intelligence that transcends raw power. Samson's journey illuminated how true influence emerges not from dominating external circumstances, but from mastering internal landscapes of vulnerability and self-awareness. Leadership, fundamentally, is an intricate psychological dance between personal limitation and collective potential. When individuals carry extraordinary responsibilities, the internal pressure becomes a silent, relentless force more challenging than any external adversary. Every decision transforms into a complex calculus of potential consequences, where personal integrity intersects with broader communal expectations. Psychological research reveals that high-performing individuals often develop sophisticated defense mechanisms to manage overwhelming expectations. For Samson, this manifested as a carefully constructed external persona, muscular, seemingly invincible, that simultaneously protected and isolated him from genuine connection. Such protective strategies create an emotional distance that paradoxically undermines authentic leadership. Consider how vulnerability becomes a strategic asset rather than a weakness. Leaders who acknowledge their limitations create environments of genuine trust and collaborative potential. By revealing authentic struggles, they dismantle artificial hierarchies and foster spaces where collective growth becomes possible. Samson's journey demonstrated that true strength emerges not from maintaining an impenetrable facade, but from courageously navigating internal complexities. Neurobiological perspectives suggest that sustained performance under pressure fundamentally alters psychological processing. Continuous hypervigilance transforms how individuals perceive challenges, often narrowing cognitive flexibility and emotional responsiveness. This neurological adaptation creates a survival mechanism that, while initially protective, ultimately restricts genuine leadership capacity. Interpersonal dynamics reveal profound leadership insights. When individuals become overly attached to specific outcomes or external validation, they compromise their capacity for adaptive thinking. Samson's romantic and professional encounters illustrated how unresolved internal tensions manifest as recurring patterns of self-sabotage. Each relationship became a microcosm of deeper psychological negotiations between personal desire and collective responsibility. Professional development literature consistently emphasizes emotional intelligence as a critical leadership competency. Beyond technical skills or physical prowess, the ability to navigate complex emotional terrains determines long-term effectiveness. Samson's narrative powerfully demonstrates how unprocessed trauma and unexamined internal narratives can derail even the most extraordinarily gifted individuals. Transformative leadership requires continuous self-reflection, a willingness to deconstruct personal mythologies and challenge ingrained behavioral patterns. By developing metacognitive skills, individuals create internal spaciousness that allows for more nuanced, compassionate decision-making. This approach transforms leadership from a performative exercise into a profound journey of personal and collective evolution. Critically, acknowledging human complexity does not diminish leadership potential, it exponentially expands it. When leaders embrace their multidimensional nature, they create environments that honor individual humanity while simultaneously pursuing collective vision. Samson's story becomes a powerful metaphor for this transformative approach, revealing how personal vulnerability can become the most potent leadership instrument. Psychological resilience rarely follows linear progression, especially when confronting deeply ingrained personal narratives. Professional therapeutic approaches increasingly recognize that transformative healing emerges through confronting internal fragmentation rather than attempting to suppress or eliminate challenging emotional experiences. When individuals internalize generational expectations, they often develop sophisticated compensatory mechanisms that simultaneously protect and constrain personal growth. These psychological adaptations function like intricate defensive architectures, seemingly impenetrable from the outside, yet fundamentally limiting internal emotional mobility. Professional trauma researchers describe such structures as protective shells that paradoxically prevent genuine healing by maintaining a facade of invulnerability. Neurological studies suggest that sustained performance under extreme pressure fundamentally reshapes neural pathways. Individuals like Samson, carrying extraordinary responsibilities, develop hypervigilant neurological responses that prioritize survival over authentic emotional processing. This adaptive mechanism transforms every interaction into a potential threat assessment, narrowing cognitive flexibility and emotional responsiveness. Consider how cultural narratives often impose restrictive identity frameworks that demand continuous performance. These external expectations create internal pressure cookers where personal authenticity becomes increasingly challenging to maintain. Individuals find themselves trapped in perpetual performative experiences, where genuine emotional expression becomes secondary to meeting predetermined societal expectations. Interpersonal dynamics reveal profound psychological complexity when examining how extraordinary individuals navigate relational landscapes. Each interaction becomes a nuanced negotiation between vulnerability and self-preservation, where emotional intimacy is simultaneously desired and fundamentally feared. Professional relationship researchers describe this phenomenon as adaptive distancing, a sophisticated psychological strategy that allows superficial connection while maintaining critical emotional boundaries. Professional developmental psychology suggests that transformative growth emerges precisely at the intersection of challenge and authentic vulnerability. When individuals courageously deconstruct ingrained defensive mechanisms, they create internal spaciousness that allows for more nuanced, compassionate self-understanding. This approach transforms personal limitation from an obstacle into a potential source of profound wisdom and resilience. Leadership literature consistently emphasizes emotional intelligence as a critical developmental competency. Beyond technical skills or external achievements, the capacity to navigate complex emotional terrains determines long-term personal and professional effectiveness. Individuals who develop metacognitive skills create environments that honor individual complexity while simultaneously pursuing collective vision. Critically, acknowledging psychological complexity does not diminish human potential. It exponentially expands transformative capacity. By developing sophisticated internal awareness, individuals can transform seemingly restrictive experiences into powerful opportunities for growth and self-discovery. The journey becomes less about maintaining an impenetrable exterior and more about cultivating genuine emotional flexibility. Reflecting on this journey, we find ourselves standing at a profound crossroads where human complexity intersects with transcendent potential. The landscape of personal transformation isn't a linear path, but a dynamic terrain of interconnected revelations. Each moment of vulnerability a potential gateway to deeper understanding. Imagine consciousness as a sophisticated tapestry where individual threads of experience interweave to create meaning beyond isolated moments. Our explored narrative reveals how human potential emerges not through heroic isolation, but through intricate relational dynamics that challenge and reshape internal landscapes. The most profound journeys are rarely conquered. They are carefully negotiated, moment by moment, with a nuanced blend of courage and humility. Psychological evolution operates through subtle, almost imperceptible shifts, like tectonic plates slowly transforming entire geographical configurations. What initially appears as weakness becomes, upon deeper examination, an extraordinary mechanism of adaptive resilience. The human spirit doesn't merely endure, it transforms, transmutes challenging experiences into profound wisdom through intricate emotional alchemy. Our exploration has unveiled a critical understanding. Authentic strength isn't about maintaining impenetrable boundaries, but about developing sophisticated internal flexibility. This requires a radical reimagining of personal narrative, moving beyond prescriptive cultural scripts toward a more dynamic, compassionate self-understanding. We're invited to recognize that our most challenging internal landscapes can become fertile ground for unprecedented growth. Each person's journey represents a unique architectural design of emotional intelligence, constructed through lived experiences, processed traumas, moments of unexpected grace. The blueprint isn't predetermined, but continually redesigned through conscious engagement, reflective awareness, and willingness to embrace complexity. As we approach our narrative's culmination, we stand witness to a profound truth. Human potential isn't a fixed destination, but an ongoing, breathtakingly complex dialogue between individual consciousness and collective experience. Our explored journey suggests that transformation occurs not through extraordinary external achievements, but through the courageous willingness to inhabit our full, nuanced humanity. The path forward isn't about conquering internal landscapes, but about developing a more sophisticated relationship with our own complexity, learning to navigate psychological terrains with curiosity, compassion, and an openness to continuous reimagining. We are, fundamentally, works in perpetual progress, our most significant growth emerging from spaces of vulnerability, authenticity, and genuine self-exploration. In the profound landscape of human experience, our journey through Samson's narrative reveals a universal truth. Strength is not defined by external power, but by the courage to embrace vulnerability. His story transcends historical boundaries, speaking directly to the modern soul wrestling with expectations, identity, and purpose. The human spirit rarely follows a linear path of triumph. Instead, it meanders through complex emotional terrains, where our deepest wounds become our most powerful teachers. Samson's journey illuminates this intricate dance, how extraordinary potential often emerges from our most profound moments of brokenness, where societal expectations collide with personal authenticity. Imagine strength not as an impenetrable fortress, but as a dynamic, breathing ecosystem of emotional intelligence. True resilience isn't about never falling, but about developing the remarkable capacity to transform falling into a nuanced form of growth. Each challenge becomes an opportunity for radical self-understanding, each limitation a doorway to unexpected transformation. Our collective human experience constantly negotiates between external demands and internal truth. We are not defined by our superhuman capacities, but by our willingness to acknowledge our fundamental humanity, to stand naked before our fears, uncertainties, and unresolved narratives. In this vulnerable space, authentic power is born. Leadership, personal growth, and spiritual transformation share a common heartbeat: the courageous willingness to deconstruct protective mechanisms and embrace complexity. When we release the need to perform perfection, we create revolutionary spaces of genuine connection with ourselves, with others, with the broader human experience. The most profound journeys are rarely conquered. They are carefully navigated with a delicate balance of self-compassion and relentless curiosity. Our internal landscapes are not battlegrounds to be dominated, but intricate ecosystems to be understood, honored, and gently transformed. As we stand at this moment of reflection, we're invited to reimagine strength. It's not about maintaining an unbreakable exterior, but about developing the sophisticated emotional flexibility to move through life's challenges with grace, authenticity, and an open heart. Our greatest power lies not in never experiencing vulnerability, but in our capacity to metabolize our experiences into wisdom. Let this be an invitation to lean into your complexity, to honor your full, nuanced humanity. Your story is not about achieving a predetermined ideal, but about courageously becoming more fully yourself with each breath, each challenge, each moment of unexpected grace. In embracing your entire human experience, you unlock a transformative power far beyond muscle or might, a strength that resonates with the very essence of human potential.